Hey YouTube, this is a Let's Play of Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup, which I firmly believe is the greatest video game of all time. It's also free. You can be playing it right now. Well, not literally, you gotta download it, but it's free. And you should play it. And on Something Awful, there's been some really great crawl LPs done by one Woozle Wuzzle, who has now opened the floor to guest LPers, and I figured I would take a shot. Because this is kind of following up on the momentum created by that thread, I'm going to be assuming you know the very basics of crawl. I'll still try to explain as much as I can, but I won't explain everything. If you're watching this and you think, oh, this dungeon crawl looks pretty cool, but I wish he explained even more than he did, let me know. I can probably run a separate character and separate videos where I explain even the basics. Here I'm going to be assuming at least a basic understanding of the game. I'm going to be running my favorite combination of all time, which is Demon Spawn Hunters. Demon Spawns are quite cool because they get random demonic mutations as they level, and they have pretty cool aptitudes, as I'll explain when we get into the game. They do level very slowly, but I'm willing to put up with that. And Hunters, what's really neat about Hunters is that having a ranged weapon in the early game, like it's actually really, really strong in like the early, mid kind of period. And then, it does fall off a bit, but you can kind of audible out of that. The really cool thing about Crawl's system is that your race matters a lot, your background, really not at all. It's basically the exact opposite of real life, right? And so your background just determines some starting skill levels, but you can totally, completely change it to your heart's content in Crawl. Crawl's skilling system is one of the just greatest of all time. I really wish role-playing games and the like would adopt it. So we're going to be a hunter. That doesn't mean we're going to be a Legolas this entire game here. It just means that for now we're going to start off hunting and we're going to see where we go. And what I mean by that, and I said I talk about aptitudes. So you see here, these are all the things you can train that we have some way of training. This is everything total. But like, for example, we don't know any earth spells. We can't train our earth magic until we know at least one spell that uses earth as a spell school. And so what happens is you get experience into them as determined by, like, right here it's 25 if I set it. Now 50% goes to bow and 50% to stealth. And then that is done by the aptitude. So like 50% at -1 means our bows will get experience a little bit slower than our stealth at 0. But look at this and all of them. Our invocations, this is how much your god powers work. Well, not all, but a lot of gods have powers that you need to work on your invocations to make them stronger. And demons spawn have +3, which is a fucking amazing aptitude. They're evocations. Evocations are how good you are at using magic wands and magic rods. And specifically, there's one god, Nemlex Zobe, who uses evocations. +1 is also pretty good. The thing about Crawl is that 0 isn't really average. That's kind of a trick. -1 is actually a good average for like a skill you kind of expect to use. Like anything positive is actually pretty much gravy. And that's a much better like mindset to use when you're thinking about scaling stuff up. And with that in mind, you look at our spells, nothing's great. +1 necromancy, that's it. But nothing's below -1, which I said is average. It's perfectly fine. We can totally turn this guy into a caster on the back of these zeros and -1s. So we have this person, they're going to get mutations that change how they level up. Like, every time we play them, they're going to have like a different set of mutations. And then we're good at invocations, we're good at evocations, we're good at spells. We can pretty much just adapt on the fly to whatever we want to do. And that's why I love Demon Spawn Hunter. You've got the bow to carry you through the early game, and then you just get to play kind of a different character every time, and you really feel it. So for now, we're going to turn off stealth. We want our bows at 100%. A very important crawl rule. Here's, if you're ever asking, what do I skill up? Skill up the thing that lets you kill dudes fast, until you can kill dudes fast. Then skill up the thing that keeps you alive from dudes killing you. That's basically it. So in this, we're going to just level up our bow, get our bow really strong really fast. But having said that, we're actually not going to be using it to the degree possible. Because we also have a short sword, if you look at our inventory. And we want to save those arrows. We've only got 20. Arrows have about, roughly, I don't know, 25% chance to break when you shoot them every time. So on average, this means we can shoot about 100 arrows. That's not a real figure. Like, that's just kind of my instinct, having played a lot of hunters. I don't know what the actual number is. So we need to be really careful. Once we find a couple stacks of arrows on the floor, which is a lot easier now than it used to be in previous incarnations. If you're a long-time crawl veteran, you probably remember a lot of tedium involving hunters that involved, enchanting arrows or anything. They've changed that all quite a bit now, and it's a lot easier. But until we get one of those stacks, we need to be really conservative and use our sword whenever possible. Although actually, we can use any melee weapon we find that can replace our sword, because as you see, we've got 1 level in fighting, which is just the general, it basically is mostly a health skill, and we don't actually have anything in short blades. We've got no attachment to this, it's just what they started us with. A couple of hotkeys you want to know right off the bat when you're playing a hunter. The first is the apostrophe key. Switches between your weapons in slot A and slot B. What you see here, A is our short sword, B is our bow. As a hunter, you're going to be swapping weapons a lot more than most characters, so it's very good to know this trick. And when you get a new item, you'll want to hit the equals then and hit items, and that will let you change the letter of something. So if we find a better bow, we're going to make it B, and if we find a better melee weapon, we're going to make it A. And that way the apostrophe trick will work for us all game. Now we're going to hit O for auto explore, and we see 2 rats, 3 rats. We still don't need our bow for 3 rats. And so now we're saving ammunition here by using our sword. Oh, that's a lot of rats in here. I was going to butcher this corpse, but I'm going to just... It's probably going to go rotten by the time we need to eat anyway. I just kind of butcher all corpses that I'm not going to sacrifice out of habit. This is actually a really nice room for us, like this random room full of rats. Perfect way to start leveling up, trying to get our first demon spawn mutation. Our bow's already level 4, which is quite nice. We're going to butcher just this one. I'm not going to bother with the others. Strictly speaking, like, there's only advantage to butchering the others, but it's just kind of like, it's not going to matter. It's going to rot before I need to eat twice. My toenails lengthen and sharpen. That sounds pretty boring. Like, haha, behold my sharp toenails. So basically, as a demon spawn, you're always going to get 1 body slot mutation. If you're what's called a monstrous, you get 3, and we're very glad we're not monstrous. We would have learned just now if we were. So it basically means 1 part of our body is going to get deformed, so it can't have equipment. In this case, this means pretty soon our sharp toenails are going to turn into the crazy talons, and we won't be able to wear boots because of how big our talons are. But then we're going to get a benefit to make up for that. In this case, it'll be that we can start kicking people with our talons, and we'll do a little bit more damage in melee. As you can probably guess, this isn't that good for a hunter, but it's not like you say, like, oh, I got so unlucky, because you're always going to get 1 of those body slot mutations. That's just how it works as demon spawn. So actually, boots, I'm pretty okay with getting boots as opposed to like gloves or hats. There are boots of running in this game, which are amazing, but in general, I find enchanted boots, I just get them less often than I get enchanted hats and gloves. So I'm glad I didn't get like crazy claws or horns or whatever. So we're just going to kind of walk around. I can actually auto-explore this. In really dangerous situations, you don't want to hit that auto-explore key, which is O if you were wondering. I mean, it is nice that auto-explore stops in the first dangerous situation, but it will, you know, happily turn a blind corner into something awful or whatever, so sometimes I'll walk even when I could auto-explore, just because it's better to be on the safe side. So that's Elven Leather Armor. Elven Leather Armor is pretty good because it weighs a little bit less than regular leather armor, which is what we're wearing. And it also gives you a slight benefit to stealth, which is really cool. Stealth is a really, really good skill in this game. Because it's not like, you know, kind of the roguish way people think about it in most games, where it's just about getting sneak attacks. Like, sneak attacks do exist in this game, but honestly, the biggest benefit to having good stealth is just that you get to pick your battles, that the monsters won't be aware of you. And that's doubly good for us because we have a ranged attack. So we can kind of try to sneak around if we see a big pack of enemies and just try to get 1 to follow us when we shoot them, and we hope they don't shout or whatever. So, stealth is just a great stat in Dungeon Crawl for all characters, pretty much. If you're wearing big, heavy armor, then it's kind of like stealth is a good stat for you, but there's no way you're going to get enough to counteract your giant tin can. You may have noticed I did that really fast. Just a little trick to note. See how it says eat a chunk of rat flesh? Y-E-N-Q-I. Well, like, N, you know, is no. Q is to, like, quit out of the eating prompt entirely or whatever. But you notice how it says Y-E? Because you could say E, which is the eat key, and then Y, yes, to eat. But you can also just say E and then E again to kind of, this is you eating the oldest chunk in your inventory, like the one that's going to rot the soonest. And so you just don't need to hit 2 separate keys. You just hit E twice, and that will save you time, because you're going to need to eat a lot in this game, because otherwise you'll starve to death. And that's bad. So we had kind of a boring entrance, but that's fine. We really like boring as a demon spawn hunter, because we just kind of want to kill time, get a few mutations going, and find some arrows. So this is often a dilemma people have in Dungeon Crawl, which is what to level up. And I'm going to give you right now the nice, simple guide of what to level up. Strength, you usually don't. There's a few reasons. First off, I like to have every stat at least 8. And that's because that's kind of a good number for how much one stat draining attack can take from you temporarily is 8. And having a stat at 0 does really bad things to you. It used to instantly kill you. Now it doesn't so much instantly kill you, but you might pass out randomly. And, I mean, if you're fighting a monster and you pass out, that's as good as insta-killing you as being passed out and a monster kills you. And then just you get some carrying capacity. The other big use of strength is if you have armor that's really heavy, then if you have your strength at least equal to its encumbrance value, the penalty is a lot less severe. It still exists, but your armor penalty goes down quite a bit. And then dexterity is kind of just, it buffs your attack. I don't know if it's speed or damage a little bit, but it helps you in fighting. But for most characters, most of the time you will be leveling intelligence. And that's because, like I said, Crawl is a very flexible skill system where you can kind of go into magic just anytime you find a book. And magic is powerful and useful, and most people want to do at least a little magic. And the benefits intelligence gives to magic is just a little bit better than like the benefits dex gives to fighting. So you usually want to level intelligence here. Even though we haven't found a spellbook or anything, we're still confident enough we will that we are going to skill up our intelligence. Okay, we feel the presence of a demonic guardian. That's kick-ass. This is a really good mutation. Two ways you can look on your mutations as a demon spawn. Shift A will go to your innate abilities, weirdness, and mutations. And those give you, like, a flavorish description of them. If you hit Shift 5, that's your character sheet. And we can see under the capital A, which remember, that was the same way we got into that, was Shift A. That's how we looked at that menu. But under that, it says Talons 1, Demonic Guardian 1. If you're trying to talk to people in the know about Crawl, use those terms and they'll understand them a lot better, like Demonic Guardian 1. In this case, this means when we're in danger, we'll get a demon that pops up and helps us. It'll be a weak, shitty demon, but it's still really good to have any demon at all on your side. Crawl actually has this really cool internal value called tension, where basically it has like an algorithm to evaluate how dangerous life is for you. And so that's what it's going to use to determine when to give us this demonic guardian. It's like how many bad things we see on screen. Are they all awake, or are some of them sleeping? Are they poisoned or something? Are we poisoned or something? A lot of factors go into it, but it generally is decently accurate, is the takeaway. We're going to show off another little trick called stair dancing. We're going to hit the period key, which has us wait for a turn. We're going to hit it again. Now we're going to go up the stairs. So when you go up the stairs, every monster next to you gets a chance to hit you, and then also the ones adjacent to you can follow you up, which seems like a problem, and it can get you killed, but if you're careful about it, it can actually be really good. Because see, we killed that jackal, and we slept. So now instead of fighting these jackals 2-on-1, we fought one of them, and we rested to full, and now we're going to fight the other. That's the basics of stair dancing, and it's a very powerful tactic when done correctly. You do have to give up those free hits. Huh. We had to like sleep so long there that jackal meat we butchered the floor above us already went rotten by the time we needed to eat. So we're going to eat that bat instead. The butchering food, if you're wondering why it seems a little bit tedious, it's because there are quite a few things that make it interesting. Spells have hunger, so you need to balance that out. When you have a god that demands blood sacrifices, you need to pray over corpses. You need to balance corpses and eating. And it's just, if you're a character who doesn't play into the hunger game in the interestingly way, then yeah, then it's kind of boring. But that's the point, is there are a lot of times when it does matter that you're eating food. For us, not really. So we have an interesting choice ahead of us. This god is called Makleb the Destroyer. It gives summons and powerful magic attacks, and based on your invocations, which remember, like I said, we're a demon spawn. Our invocation is 3. That's off the fucking chain. However, I tend to not worship Makleb on my hunters. My reason being, I've got a bow. I'm going to be leveling up my bow skill only for quite a while. A powerful ranged attack is one of those things I actually already have. And a summon, I can't shoot through my summon, so all it will really let me do is get distance, which is no mean feat. Like, that's useful. But I tend to not worship Makleb because I find I can get more out of other gods. However, the Ecumenical Temple isn't here yet. So, to worship a god in this game, you need to find its altar. And if you hit Control O, you can see there's currently 22 gods, and we only know Makleb's altar. And you can also find there's branches in the game. And in this case, there's an Ecumenical Temple that's somewhere from Dungeon 4 to Dungeon 7. And this will have an altar to, if not all the gods, most of the gods. And that's generally when you make your god selection. Finding an altar this early is kind of unusual. I mean, it will happen. It's not like it's rare, but it's certainly not every game that you're going to get an altar to a god you could worship significantly before temple. And so, I don't normally worship Makleb, but here, we'll be kind of getting to like get in his godly graces earlier. So by the time we get to the temple, we're not really choosing between Makleb and the other gods. We're choosing between Makleb with some piety already versus the other gods. And so to show off that dungeon crawl spontaneity, I'm going to worship Makleb on this guy. Not because I really like worshipping Makleb on demon spawn hunters, because I want to point out that crawl is all about flexibility. And here, we found it early, we have +3 invocations, let's do it. So now we want to start training our invocations, but notice we can't yet, because we don't yet have anything we can pray to Makleb to do. If we hit Shift 6, we can see he's giving us no powers. So until we get enough that he gives us a power, we can't start training our invo. So we need to get that piety right away. We see, how do we get our piety? Followers are expected to cleanse others by inflicting suffering and death on them in Makleb's name, and can gain further favor by ravaging the freshly dead. So what does this mean? He wants us to kill things, and he wants blood sacrifices. Now, like I said, that feeding game is going to get more interesting with the corpses. Here's a kobold corpse. We pray over it. It disappears, and there we go. Now we have the choice. Do we save a corpse and butcher it to eat it? Or do we give it to Makleb? This is a glowing whip. Glowing means it could have some sort of cool magical power, or it could just be cursed. What I'm going to do is pick it up for now, and when I get a few more scrolls, and I feel confident I'll have a scroll of remove curse in there, then I'll start equipping stuff and looking for a more powerful melee weapon to replace this stupid sword. I really need to avoid a cursed melee weapon, because if I find a powerful enemy, I will be switching to my bow. You haven't seen me use it yet, just because everything's been nice and peaceful. This is that's interesting, on another Dungeon 2 altar. This is Trog, the god of berserkers. We're a lot less interested in him than we would be in Makleb, so this is fine. Makleb isn't my go-to on a demon spawn hunter, but it definitely does make sense. We're going to butcher this one. I feel like we'll be hungry soon. But Trog's berserking, that's not really for us. Oh, yeah, oh, he's doing a lot of damage to us. We're going to stay and fight, though. Yay. Oh, that's why he's doing damage. He had silver darts, and because we're evil, the silver, like, sears our flesh. You see, the silver sears you. Crawl gives the message, I just wasn't paying attention. Oh, I need to eat that chunk of flesh before I rest too long, because, yeah, it just rotted. If I had waited till after the rest, it would have rotted. This is an amulet. Amulets are really cool treasures, but you can only wear one, like, at a time, because you've only got one neck. So they're kind of like magic rings. I think they're a little bit more powerful on average than a magic ring. He was wearing ring mail, if you're wondering why it took forever to kill. I think they're more powerful on average, the amulets are, but that's why you can only wear one at a time. So that's another thing where we want to wait on that until we think we have remove curse, which if I have 6 or 7 scrolls, remove curse is pretty common, and by 6 or 7 scrolls, I'm willing to make that. This is an example. Adders are one of the biggest early game character killers in the game, because they have a poisonous bite that will sometimes trigger, and since they're small, you'll get in fights with them for a long time. They won't be hitting you a lot, but they'll hit you once, then maybe you both miss each other 10 times, and you have 10 turns of poison, then they poison you again. You just die. So the first time, we're going to hit that apostrophe key, and switch to our bow. Crawl has no penalty for melee archery. That's very important. We're missing anyway just because of weird bad luck, and he didn't poison us at least. But yeah, melee archery, there's no penalty to it, and it's more damaging than our sword by quite a bit, so it didn't matter he got close to us, we still want to do that. So we see that? We got 2 arrows, 2 arrows. Okay, so we lost 3 arrows. That's actually pretty unlucky in terms of the mulching. That mulching is the crawl word for when you have an arrow, like, break. It's called mulching. And so that's an example of why I've been using our sword this whole game. He drank a potion, and he got, what is that, berserk? Unusually strong, yeah. I don't know if that's berserk or if that's might. But he's still a hobgoblin. I don't really care that he's made. But that's actually good for us, because now if we find one of those potions... Yeah, it was might, see? Notice how it used to say, like, emulsified yellow, gluggy pink, but now this is might. It's because we saw the hobgoblin drink it, and now we know what it is, because he drank it in front of us. This also reminded me I never put on that cloak. Unlike all I was saying about avoiding curses with amulets and stuff, there's not going to be like an effect on a cloak that makes it awful. And this was actually +2, which is great. So we can put that on. There's no like cursed cloak that does a horrible thing to you. It just might have a negative value or something. So I don't mind doing that. Oh, this is also cool. He's sleeping. So remember when I told you earlier that there are sneak attacks in this game, but it's not the main focus of stealth? I'm going to get a sneak attack anyway here. Just if an enemy is confused or like not paying attention, you can get a decent sneak attack. And if they're actually physically like asleep, you get a huge one. And how good the sneak attack is depends on your kind of weapon. and daggers and short swords are like the best. That's why you would use a dagger, even though it's tinier and weaker than a normal sword, if you're going to be stabbing people. We're not using a dagger, but it's a short sword, which still gets a lot of those same benefits. So see, the helpless kobold fails to defend itself. You hit it, you kill it. Yeah, that's a sneak attack. We're not really going to focus on them unless we get some mutations or whatever that make us stealthy, but it's still kind of cool that I got to show one off. Okay, this is a worm. Here's what you need to know about worms. Worms are well known as the most embarrassing enemy to die to in Crawl. Not because they're weak. In fact, they do quite a bit of damage for like the early game. I think it's 12 damage is their maximum. However, they're slower than you, so you can just walk away from a worm. And since we're an archer, we can actually kite. But even if you aren't an archer, just don't fight them and walk away. And that's why worms are the most embarrassing enemies to die to in Crawl. Not because they're weak, because you can walk away. And that one we just figured we could do it, because if we started losing, we could walk away. We're going to give these both to Mokleb. We didn't mulch any arrows on that, which is nice. We're feeling hungry. I'm still okay with having sacked those two corpses. I think they would have rotted by the time we got hungry here. We're just going to eat this guy. We're going to try to stab this adder. Nope. Failed. Don't poison me. Get out of here. Kill you fast. Iridescent scales grow over part of our body. You know, I actually don't get iridescent scales that often. I'm not entirely sure what they do. So I'm going to show off another thing to know about Crawl. I'm going to reveal, surprise, I'm playing this on WebTiles. This is in Firefox. So use my whole screen. 2 resources you always want open when you're playing Crawl. Number 1, the knowledge bots. Type in a thing, you get information pulled from the game source in the case of like monsters. And then these are comments people leave on the IRC about the thing you're looking up. And there's also the whole wiki here. We're going to go to mutations. We're going to go to demon spawn mutations. It lays out the rules like I was telling you. And in this case, we're going to look up iridescent scales because I don't happen to know what they do. So, okay, we're going to get a lot of AC. And then later we're going to get resistance to corrosion. It's called R acid on the wiki. In the game, it's actually going to call it R corrosion. So, and looking at our character sheet, this will actually be filled. And that's just a nice thing. Corrosive damage can just kind of do some extra damage to you or whatever. Mulched 1 arrow in that fight. There's another adder, but I didn't see where it was. There he is. So it'll just be kind of a nice... It's not the best scale, but I'm not going to complain. And iridescent scales do give you quite a bit of armor relative to some of the other scale types. Okay, that's floor 2. We still don't have any Mokleb abilities yet. We can see that ... Those will get filled in with asterisks as we spread carnage in Mokleb's name. And that's what we're waiting for right now. This has been a really tame early game, which I know is kind of boring for you guys to watch, but it's really good for our character. Boring is exactly what we're aiming for. Alright, there's scale mail. I don't know if this is improvement over our elven leather. Let's see. So our scale mail, encumbrance of 11. That's kind of a good sign, because like I said, your armor guide should be never wear anything with more encumbrance than you have strength. And this is like right on the borderline, like, so it's going to hinder us a little bit, but not that much. And it's got a base armor rating of 6. If we look at our elven leather, this is an armor rating of 3. So we're going to gain 3 armor. That's good. But this weighs 12 arbitrary mass units, and the scale mail weighs 35, and we're going to lose that benefit to stealth. So actually right now, I also realized, why am I lugging my old leather armor around? I'm actually not convinced I want the scale mail right now. I think I'd rather keep stealthy and keep light so I can carry more. But one really cool feature about Crawl is it supports the greatest feature of all internet browsers, Control F. If I Control F and I search scale, if I ever want to come back to this scale, I can just Control F scale, hit A, and then I'll hit enter, and the game will fast travel me back to the scale mail. So if I change my mind later and I think that 3 AC is worth the heavier armor and losing my stealth buff, I can totally make that choice. I don't need to write anything down to remember it. Like, that's Crawl's philosophy. It's like, well, you could have wrote this down and then you would know it. And since it's possible for you to write this down, we're not going to make you actually write it down, because that's stupid. From a gameplay perspective, they're identical. It's just one way bores you more. Mokleb accepts your kill. You can now gain health from killing. You see we jumped to our first star of piety, and now we have this effect. What does it do? Hit Shift S or Shift 6. That gives you the Mokleb's granted powers. We can gain health from killing. Unfortunately, that's not a active ability we use with our gods. We still can't train our invocations. But it's still good. It just means now sometimes we're going to kill an enemy and heal. A lot of players will actually pick Moklib just for this benefit, just to gain health on kills. For us, it's kind of ancillary. I mean, we're going to be running and gunning anyway, so it's not the biggest deal. We're in Moklib basically just because we've got a really good invocations, so it'll give us a second. This is Grinder. Grinder is an infamous newbie killer. I happen to know how he works, but I'm going to pretend I don't, because I want to give you guys an example of looking up on the knowledge bots. When you see a unique like this, someone with a name, always a good idea to look him up on the knowledge bot if you don't know. So let's look up Grinder. He's a unique shadow imp who likes to paralyze you and spam pain. He can appear between D3 and D6. This is the earliest of his range. That means he's kind of dangerous. Has a friendly rivalry with Sigmund to see who can get more kills. He's like a potion of experience that randomly kills you. What they mean by that is his spell list. It's very, if he paralyzes you and kills you, you die. But if he doesn't, then you're probably going to get to kill him. Like, he kind of just depend on whether he lands that shot or not. We're going to try fighting him. Crawl, it's often safe to run away. But here, because we did auto-explore. Remember I told you I like to not auto-explore in dangerous situations? This is why. Because if you'll notice, we walked this path, and if we had been walking like this and hugging the corner, we might have seen Grinder and got out. Now, he'll get a lot of pot shots on us if we run away, whatever. We're going to switch to our bow, because like I said, it's just way more dangerous. And you see here how suddenly this dude pops up? Grinder's really dangerous. And because that tension formula saw he's dangerous, and it gave us this little Crimson Imp. So we have a friend now. And actually, Grinder blinked away. So, I guess I'm going to just use my sword until Grinder... There he is. And now I have a second imp. Grinder is very dangerous. So we're going to maneuver. This is kind of a little cheesy thing. These kobolds and hobgoblins will need to hit us a lot before we're really hurt. I kind of like keeping them alive in this situation, because I kind of am artificially jacking up the tension to milk out and maybe get a third demonic guardian. Don't do this often. Don't do it unless you know what you're doing. But in this case, when Grinder's really dangerous and these henchmen really aren't, I don't try to isolate out and kill the henchmen first. I'm willing to let them stick around for what they'll do to the tension. He has a wand. That's bad. Wands can do a lot of scary and bad things, but it's still the same situation as before, where he gets a lot of free pot shots if I run away. In this case, sometimes the best defense is to fucking kill them very fast. And in this case, our Crimson Imp is also helping us take them down quickly. Now you see this message, really fire in your Crimson Imp's direction. So in this game, if your arrows miss, they'll keep going. They don't like miss like in a weird spatial anomaly, like, oh, poof. So in this case, if I miss Grinder, I might hit my Imp. I don't give a shit about my Imp, but the game's going to check for me, because Crawl is a bro like that, and maybe I would have cared. And see, now I have this Lemur. I got a third Demonic Guardian, and who knows if I would have gotten a third Demonic Guardian if there weren't this Kobold and this Hobgoblin, air quotes, hitting me, although you see my health is still full. So that's why I will do that. And the game's going to make me check every time. You can put in a hard override to these sort of messages if you're like a crazy Crawl Gosu, but I just really like them, and I don't mind answering them every time. So now our Lemur and our Imp are double teaming Grinder. We're going to shoot him. He's severely wounded. He blinks away. He's over here now. Okay, so he hit me with his wand finally. Now I'm slow. Being slow is dangerous, but so is having, like, no health. I think I can still take out Grinder. He says duck. Uh-oh. He drank a potion, and our Imp says, uh-oh, wait, okay. So he had a healing potion. That's quite bad. This has suddenly gotten a lot worse for us. On the plus side, though, healing potions are really cool, and now we had them identified. So that's kind of nice. And it actually didn't heal him all that much. He is still severely wounded. So, I think we can still kill him with our next arrow. Not quite. How about guys? You also see this little message, Moklib accepts your collateral kill. Basically, it's saying, yeah, someone did it, but Moklib is still going to give me some piety for it. Because I am still spreading death and destruction. Alright, he gestures at me. Oh, I suddenly lose the ability to move. This is normally a death sentence. This is people talking about, you know, he paralyzes you, then you can't do anything, and then he just murders you for free. However, I got my Demon Bros, so I think I can still handle this. I'm not going to get double teamed now. The Kobold's dead. Oh, awesome. This is even better. My Lemur hit him twice and didn't quite kill him, because I get a fraction of the experience if my summon gets the kill. I don't remember how much, but it's not full, so I'm glad I get to land the finishing blow. So you see there, I reached level 5, and I got more bow skill. So that's kind of finally a more exciting fight after a lot of I'm walking with my sword, la da 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 da, and I reached level 6. Like I said, Grinder doesn't fuck around, but that Demonic Guardian makes a big difference, especially when you do that cheesy little tension trick. Okay, we didn't get any Demon Spawn mutations. That's actually quite unusual. Generally, you will have more than just 2 by level 6. But I'm not going to complain because one of them is Demonic Guardian. And as you just saw, Demonic Guardian is incredibly hype. Ooh, another amulet. And also, looking at all of my scrolls here. See, I only got 5, but I have a lot of thicker stacks. And this is one of the few spoilery, cheesy things about the game. Crawl's very good about not really having spoilers. That's why you look at those knowledge bots in the wikis, because Crawl kind of expects that you do. Like, it's not a game about, like, surprise. It's very much saying, we expect you to, to know the rules and have a fun experience every time. And just a random cheesy thing to know is that remove curse scrolls are one of the scrolls that are very common. There's spawn a lot of them. So we've got these big fat stacks of 4, 4, and 3 scrolls. Probably one of those is remove curse. Because, like, really powerful scrolls, like, say, a scroll of blinking, I would expect to have 4 of them in my hand here on Dungeon 3. So I'm willing to start putting on these amulets and wielding that whip and seeing if I find anything better. Another important thing to know about IDing amulets. When you have a god, there's this amulet called an Amulet of Faith. When this happens, your god notices you more, which means anything you do that gives you piety might give you more. However, when you take it off, your god becomes disgusted with you and you lose piety, which is dangerous because later on in the game you need all the resistances you can get. Amulet slot traditionally has quite good resistances, but then your gods get mad and you take it off. So you got to be careful putting on an Amulet of Faith, and a lot of players will actually save their scrolls of identification just to identify amulets before they put them on. In our case, we're at only 1 pip of piety, so if we had to put on this Amulet of Faith, go to full piety, take it off, have Moklib get mad at us, then get back to full, that's still probably going to be quicker than getting to full without the amulet. So we don't mind blindly putting on an Amulet of Faith, it just means we're not going to take it off until we're at full piety. So I'm going to put this on. Yeah, thick around neck tried. We don't know what it does. Crawl will auto-ID it when something happens. If, for example, this resists cold, and we get hit with a cold attack, it'll tell us. We're probably going to try to find an identification scroll, but first we just want to go on a wild putting stuff on frenzy, because if we find a cursed amulet, we want to, find all our cursed stuff at once, and then read 1 remove curse scroll. Okay, this is just +4/+1. That's a lot better than our 0/0 short sword with 6 base damage and 4 base accuracy. Is our whip with 2 base accuracy plus 4 is 6. 6 plus 1 damage is 7. And its base attack delay is 1.1. As opposed, okay, it's actually a tie there. Point is, this whip's a little bit better. So we're going to drop the short sword. And we're going to hit equals then, adjust item, G to A. So we can doop doop. And now we've got these 2 amulets, don't know what they do. Identify scrolls also are quite fat in the stacks. Unlike, like the remove curse scrolls, you tend to find a decent amount of ID in the game. So, like if I had to guess what these scrolls are, I think a guess like maybe tally, identify, and remove curse wouldn't be that far off. We're not going to do it yet, though, because these aren't faith. We would feel God following us if these were faith. So we know it's not that. There's actually a few other things we know it's not. And the point is, now, as a digression, the reason we would know it's not is just if we have an effect like resisting cold, you can just know that when we put it on. But then if this is, for example, clarity, which prevents you from confusion, we won't know that until it stops us from being confused. As we get a little further on in the game, we're making choices about what amulet to wear. Then we want to identify these if they don't auto-identify so we know what we're working with. Here, it's not like I'm really making an informed decision. Unless I ID both of them, I'm just going to wear it randomly and hope it identifies itself as I go, for now. There is one caveat to that. That caveat is stasis. It's an effect that inhibits teleportation, and it sucks dick to have stasis on, because teleporting can save your life quite often. And so, when we have a couple more scrolls, we're going to start reading them and trying to find actually the scroll of teleportation. When we do that, then we're going to see if this is stasis or not, because if it is, we need to take it off. For now, because I don't know what teleportation is, I'm not as worried about trying to get rid of stasis, because it's not like I was going to teleport now, because I don't even know how to teleport. So this is when we got to get really careful. We've had decent luck. That Moklib early shrine is going to get us a piety bump sooner than we expected. And Demonic Guardian's great. But one unlucky thing is we still haven't found any arrows on the ground. So this definitely shows why with the Hunter, we were making sure to use our melee whenever possible. Definitely that decision's the only thing keeping us, I won't say in the game, but like if we had no arrows and we came up against Grinder, we would be dead. So you see here, I'm kind of willing to because hunger actually lasts for quite a while. Like you go hunger, very hunger, near starving, starving. And then when you starve, you're going to die eventually when you're starving. But you do get, it's not the turn you start starving. And because of that, I'm willing to, give corpses to Mokleb. Oh, shit. That could have been really bad. That's a Morningstar of Holy Wrath. And you'll notice it's gray. Gray is the crawl, way to know that you can't use an item at all. Because in crawl, you can't sell items at a store. If you can't use it, you just leave it on the ground. And the reason that's gray is because we can't even pick that up because it's a Morningstar of Holy Wrath. Watch. We're going to hit G to pick up and B. And we get in. We can pick it up into our backpack. But if I go to wield it, I am not allowed to wield it because it's holy. If he had hit us with that, we would have been in pain. But he didn't. Hooray. Yeah, we're going to just... This is so stupid that we're a hunter and we're just whipping shit like Indiana Jones. Butcher an orc corpse. We only need one. And then we're going to pray the other two to Mokleb. Yes! Okay, we're at 2 pips of piety. We can now harness Mokleb's destructive might. We hit A. A is to use abilities. So remember, capital A is our innate abilities, weirdness, and mutations. It describes them. Lowercase a is how you use them. We have access to minor destruction. We see it costs 1 HP and food, and it's got 24% failure. We can hit question mark to go to description and learn it's a random harmful blast. What does this mean? It's a god power. Now our invocations is available to be trained. We want to train it. In this case, I still want to get bows up, so I'm going to go hit it again to do what's called focus. So now 2/3 will go to bows, and 1/3 will go to invocations. We want to train our bows to 10 quickly. As a little digression, here's why we want it at 10. This is a very important crawl concept called minimum delay. So let's look at our bow. Its base attack delay is 1.1, its minimum delay is 0.6. That's like how many turns it takes to attack. So you can see if we have a lower delay, we just get to shoot more. In this case, it would be like for every 3 turns a monster takes, like every 3 attacks a monster takes for 3, we would be taking just under 4. And so over time, that will add up. And it may mean we can shoot and move a little bit better. And you want to get to minimum delay with your primary weapon. And how do you do that? Every 2 ranks of that weapon knocks 1/10 off of your attack delay. So we see here, if we've got a base attack delay of 1.1 and a minimum delay of 0.6, there's a 0.5 difference. It will take 10 skill to overcome it. Actually, a lot of characters will only train their weapon skill to minimum delay for the weapon they're using, and then they'll stop, because it's a very important breakpoint to hit min delay, and then a lot of times it's better to go into, for example, for us, invocations. As it happens, unlike melee weapons, bow damage calculation is quite different, and it's very, very complicated. But the upshot of the bow damage calculations is that having bows beyond minimum delay is a little bit better than having other weapons beyond minimum delay. So you want different metrics. It is still the same that getting to minimum delay is grossly important. So we still want to do that at reasonable speed, but we're still going to train our invo because we're taking advantage of the fact this is like the earliest floor we can find temple. In fact, now in controller it will show us once you hit the first floor that you can find one of these sub-branches. That's when it tells you the possible range for it. And we're already at 2 pips of Mokleb piety. So that's pretty cool. That decision seems to be panning out. Here we're going to make sure we fight only one in this alleyway. Ring mail is also kind of good armor because I can strength-wise wield it, but as we learned before with our looking at that scale mail, I'm quite actually pleased with this elven leather. I'm going to stick with it until I find something magical. Another important crawl hotkey, I think I've used this a couple times already, but the period key on your numpad is waiting 1 turn. And sometimes in situations it just makes more sense to wait 1 turn than have them come to you. Alright. ants are surprisingly awful in this game. If I was like level 1 or 2, I would be kiting with my bow against this ant. I'm level 6, I'm willing to risk it, especially because if I get really weak, that will increase the tension, and there's a chance I could get a demon to help me kill an ant, which is really stupid. But, yeah, it wasn't that deadly because I'm so far along. And also, I didn't auto-pick that up because I saw an enemy. That's a very convenient feature of Crawl. Because picking stuff up takes a turn. And so it's like, hey, there's an enemy there. You probably don't want to spend a turn picking up. Personally, I'll have you walk over it by default. And you can hit G to pick it up manually if you really want to with the enemy coming. Oh, I'm poisoned. That's actually dangerous. So we're going to switch to our bow and kill this guy quickly. Because I don't want to get any more poisoned. We're going to butcher him. A lot of poisonous enemies have poisonous meat. This ant happens to have clean meat because the poison's just in his bite. I know there's this big poisonous venomous debate that goes on the internet. I'm not going to dignify it by being a pedant about it. So you see here, every turn we rest, it's actually stopping us because we keep feeling sick from poison. But we're going to ride it out, and then, yeah, if we get super weak, we'll start blind quaffing our potions. But we had enough health. But it was very important. Oh, we got something rotten, and then right after that we got hungry. The problem is because monster flesh is gross, unless you've got a mutation or something that makes you like the taste of gross raw meat, you can't eat until you are hungry at least, and that's why that chunk went rotten right before we could eat it. But yeah, if we hadn't noticed that the poison happened and switched to our bow, we may have died if the ant had gotten a little more damage off of us. Okay, gnolls. One of the top early game threats. I know I've said that for a couple of things. Too bad. Also for gnolls, it's true. We need to kill them dead and kill them fast. Because gnolls, for one thing, they often have reaching weapons. They often carry nets, and they almost always come in packs. In this case, this pack of 2 is actually quite tame. I should have eaten him and not sacrificed him. I'm dumb. There's probably more gnolls behind here, so I'm going to leave my bow drawn. Oh, but I was wrong. We really need arrows, guys. I had a game once where I worshipped Okowaru for the arrows, because he's like the War Master god, and he'll give you weapons and also ammunition. And like, I had way more arrows than I needed, but in general, you don't need to worship Okowaru just to get arrows. You find them on the ground, but we're not doing so well this time. Let's see if this is any better than our whip. See, that's a cursed one, -2. So now we need to find remove curse. Well, that's fine. Let's check our 5 stack first. Remove curse, like I said, it comes in big fat stacks. Okay, this is using on an item. So this isn't remove curse. This is something that you have to target an item you control to use. It's either identification, it's enchanting armor, or it's a scroll of recharging, which recharges wands. In this case, identify I think is slightly more common than the other two, and it's also way more useful to have something identified than it is to have armor +1 or to have a wand recharged. And so you want to kind of use the one that you'd be most sad about wasting if you were wrong in your guess. So we're going to use this on an amulet, and we're going to really hope that it's identify. And it was. And that's that amulet of stasis I was just telling you about. That's kind of awful. We would have also learned about this if we had read ID'd a scroll of teleportation, because it would have stopped us. We're probably going to never wear that, because teleporting can save your life. It has some niche value, because sometimes they make, like, traps. Like, there'll be little segments where you can get a cool item, but it's on top of a trap that teleports you instantly. And then if we wear this, they can't teleport us. But in general, it's not that good. And so now we're going to just keep reading and looking for that remove curse. There's scroll teleportation. So if we had been wearing stasis, it would have identified it. And now we're going... Yep, and there's remove curse. And now we're going to drop this terrible flail. And we're going to go back to that. We're about to randomly teleport. We've cleared about half the level, so it's reasonably safe. And yes, there we go. Teleporting, since it just brings you somewhere in the level, if you haven't cleared much level, there's always the danger that it'll put you in a big pack of pain. So the safety of teleport is dependent on how kind of safe the level is. Arrows on the ground. Arrows on the ground. Arrows. How many? Yes! 24 arrows on the ground. Just double our starting allotment of arrows, basically. That's so good. We are quite in business now. We still need to find a couple more arrow cases before we can, like, 100% of the time have our bow out, but we already are feeling a lot better about things. Okay, a magic ring. Excellent. I don't know why I got that Lemure. This is a pretty tame fight. I guess just because this hound is randomly impossible to kill. Invocations level 2, we hit level 7. You feel your magical essence form a protective shroud around your flesh. When hurt, damage is shared between your health and your magic reserves. This is called Magic Shield. Barely enough. So sometimes when we take damage, we'll take a little less damage and lose MP. That will kind of suck if we start getting into casting, because maybe we're relying on an important spell. We get hit, we can't cast it. For now, it's just pure gravy, because it's just basically free health for us, because we're not using our magic yet. So there we go. Wait, was there a corpse back here? No, it was a dagger and 2 tomahawks. Those 2 slashes at the bottom mean there's something other than the tile that's below the tile. And so that's why I was looking for a corpse there. So actually, we have 4 scrolls of Identify, which is quite a few. We want to start working on them. Because you can identify scrolls by reading them, and I recommend you do, like I've been doing. You can also identify potions by drinking them, but I don't, and most scroll players agree with me on this. And here's why. There are 3 really important potions to know about in this game that have the word mutation in them. By which I mean everyone with the word mutation in is important. First, Potion of Mutation. This is bad. Unlike these cool demon mutations, which sometimes have a negative effect, but on the whole, they're always positive. Like, for example, the Magic Shield. It can be bad if you really needed that magic, you get hit, but on the whole, it's quite useful to have a Magic Shield. Random mutations are usually bad more than good. They're the other way around. They can give you stuff that helps you, but usually you're going to get something like you've got blurry eyes, and maybe you'll fail to read a scroll, and you won't teleport, and you'll die. Or you randomly shout and wake up monsters when you're trying to stab them. Bad things. So there's another potion called Cure Mutation. This just randomly cures bad mutations. This is, for a demon spawn, this won't cure our cool demonic mutations we love. It will cure, like, the other mutations we accumulate. This is really good. However, they're incredibly rare. And a lot of characters' endgame potential is partly just how many cure mutation potions do they have saved away to help cure them when they get crazy, awful shit from monsters mutating them. Learning that you have one by drinking it is an incredibly disgusting waste. And the third one is a potion of beneficial mutation, which just gives you a mutation kind of like these demon spawn ones that's good, but if you drink that and then later blindly drink cure mutation, it will make you lose your good mutation because it's still classed in the same way as those mostly bad ones. So you don't really want to blindly drink potions. An exception is if you get a really big stack right away. Like, for example, I just told you cure mutation is rare. Do you think my gluggy pink potions, I have 3 of them on D4, is that cure mutation? Almost certainly not. And if it is, and I happen to be wrong, well, I fucked it up. Oh no, I still have 2 potions of cure mutation on Dungeon 4, which is still ahead of the curve. So that one we're probably okay, but all the other ones, we really want to use our scrolls to identify until we find mutation and cure mutation. When that happens, we can blindly drink and find beneficial, because we won't blindly drink cure and lose it. Until then, we kind of want to use our scrolls on our potions, and I also want to know about our amulet and our ring. So first off, we're going to put the ring on, because if it raises a stat, then we're going to, or something like that, it will auto-identify. Like, there's no point being coy. If my int was 15 and it goes up by 17, the game may as well tell me it's a ring of int plus 2. Because that's all it can be. Yeah, this is a ring of flight. In this case, it auto-identified because it gives us flight as an option in our evoking menu. Also worth noting, minor destruction was 24% failure when we got it. Now it's 9 because we have it at level 2. The skills all go to 27 if you were wondering. And it gets like the higher it gets, the harder it is to get it to the next level. So getting it to 27 won't happen for a long time, even though we got like our bows from 4 to 8 quite fast. And so, okay, as we identified that, and now we're going to identify first, I do want to know what I'm wearing. Now, yes, this is a great amulet, because mutation, I just told you, mutations suck. Now, if a monster tries to mutate us, we have a 90% chance to just avoid it. I don't believe this works against the potion at all, so we're still going to use our identify scrolls on the potions. But this is quite a nice find. So let's hit, we're not going to hit the tried by monster either, I don't think. I think we see. We found potion of mutation. If we find cure, then we're done. I mean, I don't think lightning's going to strike twice, but that's really nice to find a mutation this early and kind of avoid that bomb. And there's restore abilities, which is... I always like to leave one scroll of identify and not read it. My rationale being, if I have something like an amulet like this, I just really need to know what it does so I know if it's worth taking off resist mutation for it. In this case, I would probably just take off resist because no mutating monsters are going to show up this early. But later on in the game, that will be a really hard sell to take off resist. So then I always like to save one identify scroll in case I need to know what an item does right now. Okay, so he's wielding an Orcish Morningstar of Holy Wrath. Because we found it, now we know what it does. Because we kind of picked it up, identified it. So we need to kill him with arrows, because if he gets in melee range of us, we're fucked. And this also shows another crawl trick. I should have done this earlier, but I forgot to. So remember this Morningstar? We can pick it up. Presumably we've got like tongs or something. We're like, ugh, we're lugging it into our backpack. We just can't wield it. We're going to wield this like this entire level now. Because if we don't and we leave it on the floor, shitheads like that goblin are just going to pick it up like little douchebags. Yes, I still have another chunk left. Here's something else I want to show off. Sometimes god abilities will take piety. In this case, we'll lose 1 health and we'll get a little hungrier. I want to show off minor destruction just because you've never seen it and the costs are pretty low. We failed to use it. That 9% failure hit us. Alright, we aim it at the goblin. This ended up being acid. It gives you a random element and hits them with it. And we got a kill and we feel a little more hungry. So that's what we've got now with Mokleb, which will also help us if there's a bad enemy. We want to save arrows maybe, or maybe it's someone who's weak to an element. We can hope to get it or something. But you can see why Mokleb isn't quite my #1 favorite on a hunter, because I cast the spell and I used it and it killed you really hard. I have a lot of things to talk about and I just rushed the game. So first off, I was just saying that that's like my bow. The spell minor destruction is kind of like the spell use bow, shoot arrow at man, which is a powerful spell. Another thing is to note, we picked up 14 arrows of frost. If we quiver them instead, we'll do frost attacks. If there's an enemy who's weak to it, that'll be really cool. These guys. So, like I said, kind of like the big trifecta of early game killing things. Kobolds, because they can spawn with these random deadly needles or whatever. Adders, because they poison you. Gnolls, they come in packs. This dude is also an early guy who kills you, but on a completely different level. Orc priests are nuts. They have this thing called smiting. And smite targeting is anything you can see. It'll just do 13 damage. So if he had like a tomahawk, he couldn't hit us with this tomahawk because he'd have to throw it at the adder. So we'd have to like throw it at the adder and miss, and that would hit us. But with smiting, he would kill us in 4 hits. It does, I think, up to 13 damage. Although, as another example of the knowledge bots, let's go ahead and confirm that, because it's the kind of thing you really want to know. I think it's 13, but I haven't seen a 17. 7 to 17, so it's good I checked. So 17, 34 plus, yeah, so you can actually kill us in 3 hits if he gets really lucky, which is always you need to think in crawl, because you're going to be fighting enough enemies that eventually one orc priest is going to get max damage smites 3 times. You're killing too many orc priests for that to not happen. So we need to be very careful in this fight. On the plus side, the game knows orc priests are dangerous, and we may get some guardians here. So the first thing is, I don't want to give him this nice, cozy line of sight of me while we're fighting his buddies. We're going to take a step back, take a step back, take a step back. So let's go into this bluff, because then he has 2 options. He can either come here after we kill like this guy, in which case we'll need to kind of zerg through these guys quickly, but he won't get that many free turns on us. Or he can walk around to here, and now suddenly I have access to kill him without having to kill his buddies. In this case, I'm going to use Mokleb to my advantage, not because I really, really need to, but I want to get some value out of Mokleb. So even though our bow, we certainly want to use our bow and arrow normally to kill the orc priest, we're not going to wield it. We're going to use our whip, and if he comes around to the back at us, we're going to kill him with Mokleb powers, just to kind of show off that we have them and we can use them. And save some arrows. We're poisoned. Lovely. Being poisoned, okay, see, he came around that side. And now, that took me way too long to kill that adder. I don't want to take free hits. So there we go. Something smote us. You just see he just did some free damage to us with his smite. But because we're poisoned and in danger, we got this Lemure now. So, boop, boop. We have some freedom from this orc priest. I think what we want to do is we want to book it. You can see the different color squares on our map there. Blue is the color of up staircase, I'm really sure. What is it? It's Shift X, right? Yeah, Shift X is to like get free panning. Normal X is just to look around a little bit. Shift X is the big look. So we want to get, yeah, this is the only up staircase we know about. It's the only blue square. There's 3 on the level. So it will be kind of a comedy of errors how long we have to run away. But then on the other hand, we do have all this area cleared. A monster could have wandered in there, but there are not going to be that many monsters there. So I think that's what we're going to do here, is we're going to go and we're going to just cut around corners a lot to keep trying to break line of sight of this orc priest. It's the poison's over. That's, oh wait, shit, I can't go through that plant. And he smote us again. But he can't kill us in 1 hit now. Still, we have 20 health and he can only do 17. But that's why we really want to look up the max damage someone can do on the knowledge bots. Because it's really important for me to know here that he can't kill me in 1 hit. Because if he could, I would start blindly drinking. Oh, shit, for example, he can kill us in 1 hit now. But it is really unlikely. And I don't know which one of these is curing quite. So, well, I can just break line of sight, actually. No? Okay, well, he needs to have line of sight for 2 turns, because if he moves to get me, he can't also smite me. So, oh my god, I didn't think, I thought I would get away from him. This is really bad, this situation here. I wish I knew fog scrolls. I would just do that. We've cleared most level. Teleportation may be our way out, actually. Because if I walk, he gets more. Oh wait, no, because he's on the farthest edge. So as long as I don't stop, he has to move, so he can't ever smite me. I think he'll get 1 chance to smite me here, but now I've regenerated enough, he can't kill me in 1 hit. No, even in the corner he couldn't. Excellent. Yeah. So we are good. And let's bring this rat with us because we're hungry. And we need something to eat. And hopefully he leaves a corpse. Yay! See? Do not mess around with the orc beasts. Respect the men in green. So now we're going to go to this other down staircase. As another fun... Oh, that's a shaft. See, so the purple ones are down staircases, but also we see 4 of them, and this one's orange. That's because this is one way. You almost never want to take the shafts both up or down unless you know, like, unless you really need to, have another option. Because when we go down that, we can't go back up it. It will just, the staircase will break. It's a one-time staircase. So yeah. Luckily, there's a kind of a little cool trick we can do. We can control G, which is to travel. And if we hit the down staircase symbol here, this will just bring us to the nearest down staircase, but it won't do a shaft. It will do the nearest real staircase. And in this case, that's what we wanted. We didn't want to come down the same way we came up, because there's the orc priest. We can still take the orc priest, but we kind of need nice, clear firing lines on him. That's why we had to run from him that whole time, because he had all of his buddies. So this is probably going to be an altar to, like, one of the gods of necromancy. The cool thing about Crawl is it combines random dungeon generation with these little hand-stitched little things. So you still have these little areas that have character and theme. Like, yeah, this is Kikubakukwa, one of the evil necromancy gods. And so you get that personality, but then you still get the huge benefits of having a random level. Now we're going to get our bow out, because we know we left an orc priest around here. He needs to die. Better to go and find him now when I'm remembering he exists, than to have him come up on me when I'm not ready. So, and we just need to find him when he doesn't have those random dungeon animals screening for him. Because that was the problem, is that his smite targeting could go through the animals at us. But we couldn't get him because our bow isn't smite targeted. Notice that difference? He didn't hurt me at all. I just fucking dropped him. But before, he was terrifying because I couldn't hit him. That's the really cool thing about Crawl. He doesn't want it because it's rotting already. Is that it kind of combines those, like, out of nowhere, you need to evaluate when a safe situation has become dangerous. It's what gets people killed in this game so often, and that's why everyone kind of loves it. Because it doesn't have, like, these discrete, this is a boss battle. Now and only now you must pay attention. Green robes doesn't mean boss battle. It means stop and think, is this a boss battle? Before, it's like, green robes, a lot of little guys in the way. That's a boss battle. Now is like, oh, see? I didn't switch to my whip, and I was just walking, and the game isn't going to let me hit him with my bow a million times. I can, it's statted in the game, but it's really dumb, so the game's going to make sure I want to do that, which is nice, because I don't. Crawl has your back. It is so nice. But yeah, and then the second time, green robes did not mean boss battle. Glowing cloak. Having any magic cloak is so good. There are like so many cool effects and stuff on cloaks. Oh, give me that cloak. +1 cloak of poison resistance, son. I'm so happy. I'm gonna drop my cloak. I lose 1 AC. I don't give a shit. Poison resistance is really nice. And if we get this character going a long time, there's going to be some situations later where we really want that poison resistance. Here's gnolls. Like I said, you don't fuck with gnoll packs. They are dangerous. But our bow shits damage, so fucking eat it, gnolls. You know what, actually? You know what, actually? You know what, actually? Get out of here. Get out of here. I want to save some arrows, buddy. And I don't really care about this. Because I'm feeling very hungry, but I'm just going to eat all these gnolls, so I don't really mind losing my hunger in this situation. Yes, I'm going to hit Q for quit. Because, yeah, it's random how many chunks you get. It, like, is affected by the kind of monster it is, but then sometimes there's randomness. In this case, because that one gnoll gave us 4 chunks, we can go ahead and sacrifice all the others to Mokleb. So yeah, I guess that's kind of cool, is how many arrows we can save if we know we're going to get fed after. It's kind of weird because a lot of gods will have all their abilities like have a piety cost, so you can't spam them because God will like say, you know, I'll let you do this ability, but I'm gonna like kind of respect you less. You have to earn it back. But with Mokleb's minor destruction, I do believe he has some abilities that cost piety, but his minor destruction doesn't. So we can just kind of spam that as long as we can take the 1 HP in the food. So maybe I just need to get used to spamming that more and saving my arrows. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We've gotten through 4 floors of the dungeon. We're level 7. We've got a decent set of mutations. The Demonic Guardian's great, and the rest is pretty okay. Just not good, not bad. Pretty standard for Demon Spawn. We got some decent loot going. We got that poison resistance already. We've identified mutations. We just need to find Cure Mutation, and we can start blind drinking our potions again. And, yeah, we're just in general having a good time. We kind of got past that initial very, very fragile stage of Demon Spawn Hunters. And now we can hopefully branch out, and in this case, what we're going to branch out into, at least for now, is some crazy god killer who combines his archery and Mokleb's destruction and summons to keep enemies far away and blast them before they can get close to you. So that's the game. I'm going to cut this for now. Let me know anything you want to see in future videos.